بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق النجم الثاقب
El gran campo gravitacional que trae ese astro nuevo, que hace 13.000 años que no penetraba y que 13.000 años atrás fue los tiempos de Atlántida perdida, tiene resonancia y efectos que a los reflejos, que a la debilidad. Queda el gran cambio.
There are extraordinary mysteries in the past, and these mysteries are important because they have something to tell us about ourselves. I mean, a man or a woman with amnesia who've forgotten their own life story are gravely disadvantaged by that. What if that's the case for the whole human species? That we've forgotten our own life story, that we don't remember the truth about ourselves because there had been too much cataclysm, too many years have passed, it's all got mixed up and confused in myth and memory, so that we don't really have a clue. How can we proceed forward if we don't know where we came from?
It's almost like we have a genetic, like most people have a genetic trigger where if you start bringing out information that suggests that these cataclysms happen, they automatically attack you. There's like this, there's like a genetic, no, you can't, we're not supposed to know this, we can't know this.
It's an extraordinary thing, and it's actually why, because I did become a little bit defensive in my work as my work moved on from the sort of grand explosion of Fingerprints of the Gods, when I just sort of threw it all out there, to later more considered books such as Underworld, where I had to consider, as I was writing the book, I had to consider that there was going to be an army of hostile archaeologists out there who would want to find any chink in the armor of my case to bring the whole case down. If I can just find one fault, then we can then this is classic disinformation technique. We find one little fault, then we can elaborate that out to suggest that the whole work is contaminated. And so I became very, very cautious about how I presented information. And whenever I made an extraordinary claim, I did try to back it up at great length with extraordinary information. And it's why in Underworld I do not actually investigate. I did in Fingerprints of the Gods, but in Underworld I don't really go into the question of what caused the cataclysm. I can find myself purely to the facts, which nobody can dispute, that the end of the last ice age was a mysterious and cataclysmic episode, when extraordinary earth changes did take place, when sea level rose by 400 feet, when more than 10 million square miles of the best land on earth was flooded by those rising seas. That's roughly the equivalent of Europe and China added together in terms of size. That's what's missing from our story.
Right, and most people like to settle by the ocean so they can have a good view.
It was the best land on earth during the last ice age. Little example, the Persian Gulf. Persian Gulf was all dry land at the end of the last ice age. A huge river system ran through it, the combined streams of the Tigris and the Euphrates. There were gigantic fertile lakes in the bottom of that valley. It was a pleasant valley then. And it was flooded by those rising sea levels and became the place we see it today. What a wonderful place to do underwater archaeology if anybody would actually put their minds to it in a serious way.
Started sharing some things with me that just kind of blow my mind. So I felt like this would be a good time to share. If you don't mind, to share a little bit about what you know, what you've been finding out from some of your sources, tremendous sources, about Planet X.
Yes, actually, Brother Paul, I have right here in my hand, this memory stick was given to me by an astronomer.
Okay.
And he shared this information with me, and he told me, he says, it's hard to open the file. You have to have a certain way to be able to open this file. And he said, if you have any trouble with it, let me know and I'll walk you through it. But we talked to me about it in detail beforehand.
Okay.
And he said to me, he says, the information on here is information that comes right from NASA, places like that. And of course, he said, Planet X is real.
Now, he's an astronomer.
He's an astronomer, but he doesn't call it Planet X.
Okay.
All right. He uses their technical name, and I forget what he actually called it at the time, but he tells me about. He said there was one astronomer that is accurate in his information. He said that was a guy from South America that when he was much older, and this guy that gives this to me is like in his 70s as well. He says to me that and again, I forget what he called it now, but he doesn't call it Planet X. He said it's coming in, it's in behind the sun. He said the only way, so when people say they photograph it and they try to show you this photo, he said it's not true. He said it's got to be filtered, and I forget what kind of filter he tells me about, but it's got to be filtered. And he said then you can get the image. Well, I've got images here of Planet X on here that he gives to me as well in this.
What?
But then he gives all the technical details about this, and I mean it's way over my head.
So what you're saying is they don't call it Planet X or Nibiru.
No.
But it's the same thing.
Exactly.
And they admit it's the same thing.
And I asked him specifically, or you're talking about what people call Planet X. He said that's exactly what it is. It's Planet X, what we're talking about here. And he said it does an elliptical orbit.
Yeah.
Just like the man from South America, the astronomer from South America said, it's an elliptical orbit that it's in. And he said, it's going to come through. He said, now I asked him though, because I wanted to know, when is it coming?
Mm-hmm.
He said, that's one piece of information that I didn't, he said I needed one more in order to give the calculations of its actual orbit. He said, but in my opinion,
okay,
any time between now and 2025, he said, I believe it will come through. He says, now it's going to boomerang coming out, when it comes out around the sun.
Is it like a perihelion?